Welcome to the Drinking Shed.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, here we are back again.
Yes.
Enjoying another evening out here in the shed, having a little bit of a pour, and we're going to talk about a couple of things. One thing in particular. One of the things I hear a lot when I'm out and about, and actually friends when we're talking, friends that come over when we talk, is yeah, it's good, isn't it?
It's good.
Boo rye.
Little boo rye tonight.
Is, hey, you want to come over for a whiskey? And they come over and then they look at this and they go, you said a whiskey. What the heck do you mean when you said a whiskey? Because there's a lot of different kinds, right?
Yeah.
So tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about, this is what it means to be a whiskey and what the different kinds of whiskeys are. So the one I'm going to start with is probably the one most people are familiar with when we just say, hey man, have a bourbon.
And this is, there's our little generic little guy.
Old Beezer.
Old Beezer, 10 years old, baby.
But anyway, a bourbon.
That thing's awesome.
Yeah, it actually is. So when we talk about a bourbon, what the hell's a bourbon?
The mash bill makes it a bourbon. 51% corn, to be exact. New charred oak.
Barrels.
Then there's some requirements that go with
proof.
With proof, right. But for the most part, we just talk about the mash bill.
The mash bill.
It has to be 51% corn.
Right, so mash bill, 51% corn at least.
New charred oak.
New charred oak barrel.
When it gets in the bottle, all you need to know is that the minimum it has to be is 80.
80, and the maximum is
125.
125.
Yeah.
Okay, 125. Thought it was 128. See.
So we did a little research on these guys. So we went out and we bought this bottle, and we're like, "Where are these guys? I've never even heard of these guys."
Yeah.
We bought it because it was 10 years old, and they're actually from a town called Fairfield, California. I had to look it up on the map.
Not exactly the heart of whiskey country, but
so awesome. It's a big place that made this thing.
They make all kinds of things besides just bourbon.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
Interesting to see that.
I had no idea.
Yeah. So there we go. We got a bourbon. Yeah. All right. So now, well, wait a second. This is a bourbon, and it's a tad fancier. This thing says single barrel on it.
Yes.
All right. Let's walk through what a single barrel means. Single barrel, right? We got a barrel.
A barrel.
We take that and we bottle it out. We have a single barrel to go into X amount of bottles.
Yeah.
Advantages.
Flavor. Nuances for flavor based upon where they pulled it from.
Okay.
The nuances of that one particular barrel, and when you can look onto the bottom here, it will tell you where it came from, the barrel and the allotment, and maybe even the rick house where it came from, and you can choose different ones. Okay. And you can get different flavor profiles. If it's cask strength, we know that they've just poured it straight in from the cask into the bottle, and you're on your own.
Yes. So now
120 something proof probably.
The disadvantage of that is, and I'm going to say it's a disadvantage, you may find out that this is the most favorite bottle you've ever had in your life, and oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Yeah. And the next one you buy that's a single barrel tastes a little different.
Yeah.
I say that's a disadvantage only in the state, only from the point of it can be a little bit different. You're not going to get a great one and then a quote bad one.
No.
You will just get a different one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's not like it's a hit or miss and you're going to pay $42 and it's going to be drinkable or sink.
No, thanks to Four Roses for bringing that stuff back out. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, fabulous.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So now I'm going to grab a couple of the same bottles, but here's a great one, right? This is whiskey.
Whiskey with an E.
With an E.
Small batch bourbon whiskey.
Bourbon whiskey.
From Wyoming, no less.
Wyoming. All right, now here we have
a rye.
A rye.
From Wyoming.
What's the difference between a rye and a bourbon? Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun. Mash bill again. Right?
Mash bill. So what we're saying here is it just has to be at least 51% rye.
There you go.
And again, one thing I've noticed with ryes is it tends to be, I see more ryes with a much higher rye content.
Yeah, like Bullet, right? And 95.
Yeah, 95. Where you won't see a bourbon where they say, hey, it's 95% corn.
Well, if it was, it would turn into something else. Yeah. If it gets to 80% or more, it turns into corn whiskey.
Right.
Yeah.
So you'll see rye do this, and rye is really the original American whiskey.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And then it kind of went out of favor in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and then bourbon kind of took over until...
It had to do with how they migrated down. So the rye was prevalent in the George Washington time back there. So they had rye before they had corn available.
Right.
So this really is...
the original.
Yeah, it really is.
Nice.
And it's great. I mean, it's spicier, it's bolder, it makes cocktails better.
I like rye better
It's
for
not
those
as
very
sweet.
reasons. I like that bite. I like that, just the...
Yeah, that's what makes this one great. It's 100 proof, and it is great. It's not even open yet. That's another...
Oh, that is fabulous.
The Boo-Rye?
Oh, the Boo-Rye.
I know, the Boo-Rye is pretty good. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty delicious.
So now I'm going to grab this one before we go overseas. And I'm going to say, what's interesting about this one is it's got something on here that says bottled in bond.
Yeah.
For one, this is great because it's 10 years old and bottled in bond.
Yep.
And for a 10-year-old, dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Right? So you're looking where we are, this was about $30.
Yeah.
For a 10-year-old and bottled in bond, which is...
government oversight, distilled in one year by one distiller, has to be matured for 4 years as a minimum, and it has to be bottled at 100 proof.
Nice. So this is a bourbon, right?
Yep.
Yep. So the one I like that's bottled in bond that I tend to use a lot in my mixed drinks is Rittenhouse, right?
Yeah.
Which is, again, I get it, I think, $22 a bottle for 100 proof bottled in bond rye.
Yeah, you can't.
And for a mixed drink, it's...
and I buy the Evan Williams bottled in bond, the white label one, and I use that for cocktails all the time, the ones I put into my barrels, because the barrel will rework that and kind of bring down the...
I think for the last batch of Vucarets we did the Rittenhouse, right? To give it a nice 100 proof.
Absolutely. This is awesome.
Yeah.
There's a new bottle and bond by another manufacturer just came out that's 11 years, but I think that's $50-something for that. You can't beat this for $30.
So can I let it sit in the bottle for a year and then it's the same thing? That's a joke. So anyway.
No, because it won't be here in a year. I will finish it by then.
So laddie, no, this isn't a laddie.
No, that's no laddie.
Dang it. I screwed up on my bad
That's your people, though.
This is my people.
You're Irish.
So this is the Irish whiskey, one of the Irish whiskeys in here. And what I love about the Irish, besides being my heritage, is, man, these are the inventors of whiskey. This is where it came from. This is, the homeland, which, when you think about it, it's kind of odd. That's where vodka ought to be from with all the potatoes.
That's a good point. They never got around to that.
No, not really, right? So
they said, let's take a single grain.
Yep. And let's make whiskey.
Let's make whiskey and let it sit for a long time.
Thank you. Right?
And cook it with some peat moss.
Yes.
To give it that smoky flavor.
Good old St. Patrick. Knocking the snakes out and making whiskey.
Yeah.
So when you look at something like this versus something like this, meaning just the way it's made, what's really the difference between an Irish whiskey and an American, bourbon whiskey?
The grain.
Whatever.
The grain.
The grain.
It's besides the spelling.
Right.
This has an E in it. This has no E.
Right.
But it's really the grain.
Okay.
They didn't have corn. Right. They had a single malt that they could work with, or a malt grain that they would use.
Okay.
And that is what creates this right here.
Okay.
And it's a nice peated single malt, and it's pretty darn delicious. Woo! It smells good too. But I'm not a big peat guy, and that's pretty good.
Yeah. So now we cross over the water just a shade from the
just
Emerald
shade.
Isle, and we go up to Scotland. So now we have this is a single malt, right? A single malt Glenfiddich, 12-year-old. Mm-hmm. So I like Scotch. It's not. I prefer the American whiskeys, but I'm a Scotch guy too. I like it. Mm-hmm. This is a single malt.
Yeah.
Made basically the same way as an Irish whiskey.
And it's a 12-year, but it's really kind of a baby.
Right.
It's not a baby, but it's a baby compared to a whiskey.
Right.
It's old, but it's not old for a whiskey on the other side of the pond.
So now, one of the things about Scotch, correct me if I'm wrong here, is they can reuse their barrels. Whereas a bourbon, right, that's one of the rules, is it's got to be a new
All these barrels come over here. I mean, that's the bottom line. They all, except for now, people put beer. Some people are even putting wine into barrels.
I actually saw Jameson that's doing it with IPA barrels.
Yeah, so now it's a different, So they're looking for different avenues, but historically, it's those bourbon barrels would get shipped over, and they would be second use, third use type barrels depending upon the length of time that they would mature the spirit for.
So what makes that interesting is you may get a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old that tastes very similar because it could be a first use barrel and a second use barrel, or first use, fifth use, third use, 10th use, whatever. 10 is probably a little high.
And the temperature's so cool there, it takes a long time. And we have a couple other scotches that are here. One is a 9-year and one is a 22-year. They're both the same alcohol content at 52%, so they're 53%. So they're both pretty stout, but they taste pretty close to the same in terms of sweetness and nose and all the above. It just matters really which casks they went into and where they were located. Okay. At least from the distillery I was just at the end of September. That's when I was in Scotland, and we covered all this with a big tasting, going through all of these cask strength things, and it was very interesting to see the variances based upon
very cool
where they were located. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. Just think where in a rickhouse something is.
I know.
Or Scotland's not that big of a place yet. There's the 7 Mile or the 7 different areas. Like I said, I'm not the huge.
I love Isla. I think you got your Highlands, your Lowlands, right?
Yep.
You've got Ski, Sky, however they pronounce it. I don't mean to be butchering it, but
sorry.
Golf and Scotch. That's what we did there, and it was fantastic. Golf and Scotch.
Perfect. That's really what we wanted to cover on this episode. Again, we try not to get too long. Yeah, I think we got everything. Really, the only thing we didn't cover is what makes just a plain American whiskey, which is
just doesn't meet the requirements of
not 51% corn, not 51% rye. They used a different kind of mix.
Could have been finished in a different barrel,
right?
Not a new charred oak barrel, right? It could have been filled with what you did.
Right, where I did the one with the port.
Yes.
I did a port, and then I aged it at the end of that, and it gave it a very different taste. Mm-hmm. Right, and I really liked that because it was a very sweet taste at the end, and it imparted that in.
There we go, right here.
Yeah, right there, exactly.
That is a whiskey right here.
Yep.
That brandy cask finished. A lot of people don't like it, but we like it.
I think it's really good. To me, I get this cherry taste out of that when I drink this.
It's just different.
And it's very good. I like that.
That's your whiskey right there.
Yeah.
Can't be a bourbon. Yeah. Can't be a rye.
One more thing I guess I did want to cover with the Scotch real quick is this one right here.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. It's it's an apple thing. Well, but wait, one more thing. This one is, I think they get kind of a bad rap sometime in the fact that this is a blend, and people say, I'm a single malt guy, blends suck. And
I know they all get stuck. The Scotch guys get stuck in that.
Yeah.
It seems like, but there's no reason to be in that bucket.
And I'm not saying
Johnny Walker Black is fantastic,
and I'm not saying they're not fabulous single malts, but that doesn't mean that a blend is not good.
Single malts are fantastic for what they are.
Right.
But why limit yourself, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Allow yourself to enjoy the breadth of skill that goes into creating blends.
Yes, agreed.
So when we were there in Scotland, another place, they purchased their barrels just like distillers do here in the United States. They put 2 different blends together to create this one unbelievable whiskey. And it was not inexpensive. It was north of $100 for it. That's... Well, I guess in Scotch terms, that's really not expensive anymore.
Yeah.
Back when I spent $200 on a bottle of 25-year Macallan, I thought that was crazy.
Right.
That's now $1,000. So, $100 is not a lot. But my point is that they do a lot of effort to make the flavor profile, and it is delicious, and you should try it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, I think that's basically what we wanted to cover tonight. We kind of talked about bourbons, what a single barrel is, what a cask strength is, what a whiskey is, what a rye is. An American whiskey, a rye, a Scotch whiskey, an Irish whiskey.
We got more to cover later, but that's good for tonight.
A single malt, different barrels in there, right? Making this a whiskey because it's not a new oak barrel, that kind of thing. Yep. It's just kind of a quick educational. Feel free in the comments, let us know, where we screwed up or any other questions you have. We'll try to answer them. Again,
I don't want to cry, though.
Yeah. I don't want to cry. We're here to have fun. This isn't something where we're trying to teach a high-level class on this. It's us having fun.
Yeah.
And
hopefully you got something out of it.
Hopefully you got something out of it. And again, appreciate you coming along, and we'll see you next time from The Drinking Shed.
We'll see you next time, yeah.
Thanks.